problème de technique de connexion régulier, effectivement, mais voilà. En même temps, ça nous permet de se connecter. En même temps, nous avons toujours des difficultés.
Maintenant, ça marche. Allô?
Bonjour ou bonsoir à tous ceux et celles qui nous écoutent et qui participent à cet événement de lancement de la Coalition internationale de l'économie sociale et solidaire. Alors, pour les détails techniques, pour cet événement, nous avons la disponibilité de 3 langues, le français, l'anglais et l'espagnol. Vous pouvez y accéder en cliquant sur l'onglet en bas où il est marqué « Interprétation », donc en bas à droite de votre écran. Et en cliquant, vous pouvez choisir votre langue. J'espère que tout le monde peut le voir. So you can choose your languages if you click on interpretation.
Si hacen clic en interpretación, tendrán 3 idiomas: francés.
So click the right button to have the right translation. I continue and I switch into French. Bon, je me présente, c'est Alain Coeur, je suis coprésident avec Elisa Torrenegra du Forum international de l'économie sociale et solidaire, un réseau d'acteurs et d'actrices, d'entreprises et d'organisations de l'économie sociale. Nous représentons 37 membres qui sont répartis sur l'ensemble des 4 continents. Merci d'être aussi nombreux et nombreuses à cet événement qui marque le début d'une nouvelle étape dans la promotion et le déploiement de l'économie sociale et solidaire à l'échelle internationale. C'est juste qu'actuellement, nous assistons à un momentum de l'économie sociale et solidaire sur la scène internationale. De nombreuses institutions se saisissent de ce sujet. La mise à l'agenda d'un point sur l'économie sociale et solidaire au service d'un avenir du travail centré sur l'être humain lors des futures discussions générales de la Conférence internationale du travail en juin 2022 au BIT. L'action globale Promoting Social and Solidarity Economy Ecosystem de l'OCDE qui a vu le jour en 2020 et ce pour une durée de 3 ans. Le projet d'adoption d'une résolution à l'Assemblée générale des Nations unies qui est dans les tiroirs depuis quelques années et dont cette coalition va se saisir pour la porter sur ses fonds baptismaux au niveau des Nations unies, ou encore le futur plan d'action de la Commission européenne, très attendu pour la fin d'année sur l'économie sociale. Toutes ces initiatives sont étroitement liées au travail fourni par les membres et observatoires du groupe de travail interagent des Nations unies, aussi appelé Task Force, du groupe pilote international de l'ESS, mais également, et je tiens à le souligner, par le travail mené par nos organisations depuis de nombreuses années pour faire entendre, défendre, promouvoir ce que nous résumons aujourd'hui sous l'appellation d'économie sociale ou économie sociale et solidaire. Toutefois, force est de constater que les réseaux intercontinentaux d'associations, de coopératives, de fondations, d'entreprises sociales, mutuelles, de collectivités locales et territoriales ne disposaient jusqu'à présent d'aucun espace propre pour se rassembler, échanger, dialoguer et faire partager leurs activités à l'échelle internationale. Nous essayons, à travers le lancement de cette coalition internationale de l'économie sociale et solidaire, de combler un vide, en poursuivant 3 objectifs majeurs pour cette coalition, à savoir rassembler, renforcer et élever le profil d'une communauté d'acteurs de l'ESS, approfondir les efforts de plaidoyer pour la reconnaissance de cette économie sociale, promouvoir l'économie sociale comme domaine d'activité économique qui doit être reconnu et être utile pour la mise en œuvre des objectifs du développement durable. Je suis intimement persuadé que l'alliance de nos forces, de nos réseaux, à travers des actions communes, amènera chacune de nos organisations non seulement à être encore plus audibles, mais également à mieux faire connaître et reconnaître le modèle de société et le modèle entrepreneurial que nous portons. Un tel défi ne pourra être relevé que par des volontés politiques réelles, des stratégies de longue haleine novatrices, cohérentes et pertinentes, et une mobilisation concertée de l'ensemble des acteurs concernés. Organisations internationales, gouvernements, organisations de protection sociale, organisations des travailleurs de l'économie formelle et de l'économie informelle, autorités locales, société civile dans leur ensemble. Des avancées importantes ont été réalisées au cours de ces dernières années. Des cadres légaux de plus en plus nombreux se sont mis en place. Les initiatives se multiplient un peu partout, sous l'impulsion d'une grande diversité d'acteurs et en réponse aux besoins prioritaires des populations. Le monde universitaire étudie de plus en plus nos modèles organisationnels, les parcours académiques et de formation se créent. Mais notre responsabilité est d'encore faire plus et mieux. Nous devons consolider nos acquis, mieux articuler nos efforts et se faire entendre. La charte de la Coalition internationale des réseaux intercontinentaux de l'économie sociale et solidaire, que nous allons publier dans quelques instants dans le chat ci-compte, fournit plus de détails sur la raison d'être et sur les objectifs de cette coalition. Cette coalition a été créée à l'initiative de l'Alliance coopérative internationale, de SSE Forum International et du Global Social Economy Forum, confortée par la présence de l'Association internationale de la mutualité et de la Fédération internationale des coopératives et mutuelles d'assurance. Au total, 5 membres qui prendront la parole aujourd'hui. Avant de passer la parole à mon successeur, je souhaiterais avant tout remercier au nom de cette coalition l'ensemble des invités de haut niveau qui ont accepté notre invitation aujourd'hui et le soutien qu'ils et elles nous témoignent par leur présence. Le premier à me succéder est un ami de longue date, Bruno Rulands, que je salue et que je remercie chaleureusement pour son engagement sans faille. Bruno, tu as la parole.
Thank you very much, Alain. And in the name of the International Cooperative
Bruno,
Alliance...
on ne t'entend pas. Je ne sais pas si c'est...
Allô? Allô?
Nous t'entendons, Bruno.
OK, thank you. Is that okay?
Yes, it is. Alain, il faut que tu choisisses ta traduction.
Ah, OK.
Mais sinon, nous t'entendons très bien.
OK, so I switch to English. OK. Is that okay now? Fine. So I was saying...
On t'entend toujours pas.
I put English.
Si, on l'entend. Alain?
Hello. Hello.
Quelles sont tes options d'interprétation? Bruno, on t'entend très bien.
J'ai mis l'anglais. I put English.
We can hear you, no problem.
Yeah, so shall I go? Because Alain cannot hear me. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Bruno, we hear you.
Thank you. So I was saying that I'm really happy in the name of the ICA and the cooperative movement to be here with you today to share this moment, this launch of the International Coalition of international representative organizations of the social and solidarity economy. And there is actually historical evidence that the social economy has been in existence for a long time. We have some historical records from the middle of the 19th century in France, showing not only the existence of the social economy, but also the fact that the cooperatives are part and parcel of that social economy. And it's not only that the cooperatives have been part of the social economy, but like Alain said, the various actors of the social economy, we all did our part to promote the social and solidarity economy, and the cooperatives did their part as well. And in particular, in the 1980s and 1990s, in Europe, the organization called CECOPA Europe, where I was working before, was partly at the origin of the establishment of the European Parliament's social economy intergroup. And also, it is from that organization that started also a small committee, which later became Social Economy Europe. And so afterwards, the number of conferences of the social economy were organized across Europe in about 20 years ago. And this is how the cooperative movements started promoting at the European level the social economy. or the social and solidarity economy. Then at the global level, we have to mention the ILO recommendation 193 on the promotion of cooperatives, which was negotiated in 2001 and 2002, which does not directly mention the social economy, but says that the governments should assist the cooperatives to, I quote, establish and expand a viable and dynamic distinctive sector of the economy, which includes cooperatives that responds to the social and economic needs of the community. So that's one of the strongest bases at the global level of the social and solidarity economy. On that basis, a number of other organizations of the UN system started recognizing and promoting the social and solidarity economy. In 2019, the ICMIF, which has an observer status with the International Labour Organization, lobbied so that the social and solidarity economy could be included in the ILO centenary declaration on the future of work. And that was incorporated. And now, as Alain said, next year we have the big let's say, challenge to, at the ILO, there will be this discussion about the social and solidarity economy for the first time. Now, when you define a business model or you defined an area of the economy, like was the case in 2001, 2002 with cooperatives and ILO recommendation 193, or like will be next year about the social and solidarity economy, again at the ILO. It is fundamental to come up with clear common characteristics. In 2001, 2002, at the time, we had them. They started having them in 1844, and since 1844, they have gradually enriched those common denominators, and the last version of which were approved in 1995. So when we negotiated the ILO recommendation in 2001 and 2002, we had those standards, those common denominators, and could be fully incorporated in that recommendation. And so the ILO recommendation 193 on cooperatives has a clear definition and explains clearly what cooperatives are, what is that business model. And the same thing should happen next year or in the following years when standards and regulations, texts, definitions will be voted on the social and solidarity economy. This is very important that, that we have a common approach, a common definition. And this is precisely what we did with this charter. The five founders of this coalition worked out the common denominators of the social and solidarity economy at the global level. And there are just a few common denominators. The primacy of the person and the social mission of a capital, voluntary and open membership, democratic control by members, the protection of common or joint ownership, the conjunction of members' interests, community interest, and the general interest, the defense and implementation of values, the values of solidarity and responsibility, the autonomy in management and the independence from public authorities, limited distribution of surplus, and reinvestment of surpluses for the sustainable development of the business project, and not for remunerating shareholders. Those characteristics of the social and solidarity economy, which we have singled out in this charter, cover to a large extent the cooperative's own common characteristics. I would say cover about 60% of what we have as cooperatives' common denominators. There are another 40% more or less which are specific to cooperatives. But the fact that we can already share, let's say, the majority of common standard is really an important fact. And for us, it is quite comfortable as ICA with our standards to work together with these the other actors of the social and solidarity economy because of this common approach, these common characteristics which we have singled out. In 2 months' time, the 3rd of December, we will celebrate the ICA's 33rd World Cooperative Congress. You can see here the logo above me, in Seoul and online. And on, as you can read above me, you can read it on deepening our cooperative identity. When we talk about identity, we refer to the cooperative's common characteristics, which are enshrined in the Statement on the Cooperative Identity. And there will be one session on the social and solidarity economy. So the social and solidarity economy will also be part of that very important Congress, a very important Congress for us. And of course, this coalition will be strongly mentioned at that occasion. And on the next day, on the 4th of December, we will have an intergovernmental roundtable where about cooperatives, but where the social and solidarity committee will also be part of the agenda. So this occasion in Seoul and online in December will be an important landmark in the common promotion of the social and solidarity economy. Thank you for your attention, and now we'll give the floor to Paul Ladd. Paul Ladd has been the director of the UN Research Institute for Social Development, or UNRISD, since October 2015. Before that, he worked at UNDP, and most recently as director of the team that supported the consultations and the technical inputs for the UN 2030 agenda. So he's very familiar with the SDGs. Before that, he led the UNDP's policy team on inclusive globalization, and that included trade, development finance, and migration. As of 2008, he provided support to the Office of the UN Secretary General on the financial and economic crisis and engagement with the G20. So I invite now Paul Ladd to take the floor. Paul, you have the floor.
Thank you, Bruno, and greetings to everyone joining the launch of this new coalition today. Before I start, can anybody whose face I can see on screen just put their thumb up if they can hear me? You can hear me, great. So yeah, I'm Paul Ladd, I'm the director of the UN Research Institute for Social Development based in Geneva. Is an autonomous research institute within the United Nations system that focuses on the social dimensions of contemporary development issues. And we have 4 research programs. One is on transformative social policy. The second is on gender justice and development. We have a program on environmental and climate justice. And we also have a research program on alternative economies for transformation, which is where UNRIS's research work on the social and solidarity economy sits. And more on that in a moment. In my time, I wanted to really address 3 areas. The first is the state of the world today, the context, the challenges that we face. The second is that how the social and solidarity economy responds to those and can respond to those. And the third is the coalition that you're launching today. So firstly, on the context and the challenges, the world that we live in at the moment is in a mess. We live in a world of sudden shocks and disruptions in many dimensions. We live also in a world of slow burning crises, and these manifest themselves through our natural environment, through biodiversity loss, through the destruction of ecosystems, and through climate change, also through COVID-19, which is a zoonotic disease, but also in our societies through continued unacceptable levels of poverty, through disparities and growing inequalities, through low pay and precarity, and through exclusion and discrimination. Although these challenges are manifested through our societies and through our natural environment, the root cause, arguably, the cause of all of these crises has its roots in our economic systems, in our economic management and governance, but also in how we have constructed a form of economic globalization. So that is, the systems that we've created focus on prioritizing efficiency at the cost of resilience and strength. They focus on individualism at the cost of community and collective rights and responsibilities. And they focus on profit at the cost of public wealth including social cohesion and our planetary health. Now, these economic systems, national, global, local, incentives that they capture are the result of deliberate choices that we've made, particularly in the last 4 decades. They are choices that policymakers and politicians have made. Now, of course, as Bruno pointed out, at least for the last 200 years, there have been bits of the economy set up with a community and collective vision in mind, including cooperatives, but also mutual associations. And these have remained a constant, a core, but yet at the same time have not become the dominant economic firm structure. We've opted for a more extractive, profit-driven model that doesn't consider broader societal or environmental externalities. Now, the challenges that we now face, these deep inequalities and fractures, pandemics and other shocks in our deeply globalized world, climate change and environmental destruction, now leave us with actually very little choice but to go back, consider and reconfigure the way that we incentivize and govern our economic activities, and indeed how we better connect measures of economic progress, GDP, with broader societal benefit. So then that leads me to the social and solidarity economy. SSE offers us a different pathway, an alternative model, by elevating social objectives in economic activity, by factoring in and supporting common assets, environmental protection and stewardship, and by offering different models of collective democratic governance. We have a strong model, in fact, a beacon for how people can make and trade goods and services, a very natural thing to do, but in a fair way, in a sustainable way that supports economic, social, and environmental justice, and indeed, I would say, if constructed correctly, also gender justice. So it provides an alternative model, and I would also say a vision and a hope, particularly for young people and young entrepreneurs who see the challenges that the older generations have constructed to a large degree and want to do something about it. Now, in UNRIST, the work that we take forward on the social and solidarity economy includes things such as mapping SSE onto different sustainable sectors, including those in the SDGs, in different sectors and in different territories. We do a lot of work on measuring SSE and supporting both individual SSE entities and governments to strengthen their statistics on the SSE. We have developed, in partnership with other entities in the UN Task Force on SSE, a set of public policy guidelines for governments that want to grow their SSE sectors, so advice on legislation, on regulations, on financial support for the sector. And we also support advocacy and awareness on SSE, including through, for example, at the moment, developing an encyclopedia on terms that are used. And all these contribute to raising awareness, to providing resources that can be used by others. And indeed, what I've noticed in the last few months, even in the last few months, is that there's a lot of appetite for the people that work for the UN in countries around the world to access these resources and to help the governments that they support and other stakeholders to grow their SSE sectors. Now, the SDGs in the Agenda 2030 primarily set out the goals. They tell us slightly less about how to get there. And that's what's great about social and solidarity economy, is because it tells us how we can do this to a large degree, which takes me finally to the coalition that you're launching today. It's an excellent, timely moment to bring together actors on SSE to help raise further the profile of SSE, to promote an advocate for the social and solidarity economy at different levels. Now, of course, the founding members of the coalition to a large extent already do this, as do other networks around the world. So the trick, I think, will be to aim higher and achieve more with the pooled resources of the coalition, to welcome the contributions of other partners that exist, and to work together for this new vision. On our part, UNRIS stands ready to be a supporting actor in providing research and advocacy materials that can be used by the coalition and others to reach these goals. So end on saying I personally wish you the best of luck in the joint work of the coalition, in spreading the message, in strengthening momentum, and in unleashing the power of SD to deal with the many challenges that we're facing collectively at this moment in time. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Is it my turn now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Pedro Black de Silva, and I'm talking on behalf of the International Association of Benefit Societies. And thank you for letting AIM being part of this important coalition. And thank you for having invited AIM to be present in this launching of this coalition. And I would like to start with a short introduction about our association that has been existing since 1950. The International Association of Mutual Benefit Societies, AIM, is an international umbrella organization of federations of health mutuals, health and social insurance bodies. We have 55 members from 28 countries around Europe, Latin America, and Africa and Middle East. Our objectives are cost-efficient and access to health and social care, promotion of mutual benefit societies as actor of social economy, health and social protection for all without inequalities. But our values are fully in line with the charter of this coalition: solidarity, democracy, non-for-profit. Having said that, I think that the coalition comes at the right time. We are still in the middle of a major shakeup of our societies across the world. A tiny, small virus managed to bring economies to a standstill with unpredictable consequences for our societies. It has exaggerated qualities. It has caused human misery, pain, and COVID-19 has sharply increased the death rate in many countries. Mutuals have been in the eye of this storm, I would say hurricane. Our complementary and statutory health insurers had to quickly adapt to the situation and support its affiliates and those in the front line. Regarding the recent publications of the G20 and the WHO and so on, there is a call for global solidarity. Global solidarity is desperately needed to rebuild the post-COVID-19 world. And who else than organizations such as ours, for instance, could be a role model for building back better. More than ever, human stands in front of many challenges that endanger our species: health threats, climate change, an economic model that builds only on profit and only slowly adapts to implement the Sustainable Development Goals. We in AIM, we believe that health is a public good, is a common good, which requires in certain circumstances a global response and a collective approach defended by mutual funds. Social economy actors are in the front row of implementing the Sustainable Development Goals. Let me cite but a few. Good health and well-being. AIM members take care of good access to healthcare, promote the prevention of diseases, the promotion of good health. To guarantee the best possible services, mutuals create, for example, healthy hubs, a cooperation between mutuals and startups that lead to innovations in care. Who we are also active in fighting for fair prices and better access to medicine. I just would like to draw your attention for our fair pricing calculator that we have been publishing since last June. Another goal, decent work and economic growth. Our institutions take care of decent work for their employees. We contribute to economic growth by backing it with good social protection systems. At the same time, all the profit we make is distributed to improve the service to our affiliates, but better than profits, I would say surpluses. Another goal, climate change. IAM is very outspoken with regards to improving air quality, draws attention to the health and social risks due to climate change, and promotes better food for all. Goal 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. We empower our affiliates by including them in our governance. We organize elections to that end. Our institutions for many centuries have been role models to democratic principles at the grassroots of societies and therefore also influence on the broader democratic developments of today's societies. In doing so, mutuals are also very innovative and go with the times. In some countries, like in mine, Portugal, for instance, they start offering online elections of representatives in the board to include even the most institutions such as ours need to be promoted across the globe to foster peace, justice, and stronger institutions. Finally, partnerships. Here we are today. We are building such a partnership through a coalition that has been set up to promote social and solidarity-based economic actors. Since its beginnings, AIM has built partnerships to promote social protection for all without inequalities. Coming to the goals of the coalition, AIM will do its share, taking into account our capacity to bring together, strengthen, and raise the profile of a community of social and solidarity economic actors. At European level, we are one of the founder organizations of Social Economy Europe. Since then, we have advocated for the recognition of promotion of social economy actors at European level. The outcome is that the European Commission will propose a social economy action plan very shortly. We are convinced that social economy actors should get the space and recognition, political and legal, not only at European, but also at global level. We surf on the wave towards a better economy for future generations and are at the forefront of such a better future. And as I have explained earlier on, already today we are implementing the Sustainable Development Goals. We, as social economy actors, are a good example how to make a more sustainable future a reality. So, I'm deeply honored and pleased to be here with you today. Thank you very much to the Organization of International Cooperatives, ES Social Economy Europe International, ICMIF and GSEF to join forces. Together we are and we will be stronger. We have an only voice to promote dollars and our social economy. I'm very pleased to see that the CNUSED is here today. I can confirm that AIM is committed to this coalition with the capacity that we are able to provide to make this coalition a real success. Thank you very much for your attention. And now, if I may, I will draw your attention to the next speaker, which will be Daniela Bass, I think her intervention will be through a pre-recorded video. Ms. Danielle Bass is the Director of Division for Inclusive Social Development at United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs since May 2011. She's also a certified journalist and worked for the major press, radio, and television networks, and is also a certified multicultural life coach. Ms. Bass' interest has always been people-centered in the various activities, associations, and professional roles she has held. Please show us the video from Danielle Bass. Thank you so much.
We don't hear her voice.
No, we are not able to have the sound.
It seems we're having a problem with the audio from Ms. Bass. I would suggest we continue with the next speaker and then come back to the video later. So Sean, if you're ready to take the floor.
Yes, it's me. Is it next?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, it's a slightly different order to what I had. Yes, hello everybody. My name's Sean Tarbuck. I'm the Chief Executive of ICMIF, which stands for the International Cooperative and Mutual Insurance Federation. Mutual and cooperative insurers represent almost 30% of the world's insurance market and about $10 trillion in assets. ICMIF's the only global body that represents mutuals, and I say mutuals and cooperatives, pardon, cut down my speech if I don't say both. I'll just use mutuals from here on in. And now, as we approach our 100th year anniversary, we represent over 210 organizations in 65 countries. These insurers represent the leaders, not just in the mutual sector, but in the whole industry. I can say that on a personal level, as I speak regularly to our CEOs, but also factually. ICMIF members have grown in the last 10 years by 40%, the mutual sector by 30%, and the industry by 17%. So if growth is the measure of success, then ICMIF members are the best in the industry. We help our members achieve their strategic goals and to grow in their markets by leveraging the knowledge and best practices from our membership. Our current strategic themes are 4. So the number 1 being sustainability and social responsibility. This is up over the last 4 years to the number 1. It wasn't number 1 4 years ago, but it certainly is now. Number 2 will be mutual differentiation and how we differentiate our model from the rest of the industry. Number 3 is business transformation, innovation. And number 4, which is a new one, is global collaboration, which this fits very nicely within that global collaboration, what we're doing with SSE. So the pandemic has given the world a serious opportunity to change the status quo and reset itself to make society and business fairer, and to work together to impact the big issues we face, such as sustainability of our planet. There has been a significant move towards purpose-driven and sustainable businesses in general. For example, the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, have a Principles for Responsible Investing. This has been going since 2006. And one of ICMIF members were one of the founders there, Folksam in Sweden. This has almost doubled its corporate signatories in the last 2 years to over 4,000, which now represents over $130 trillion of assets under management. That's a phenomenal growth. Cynically, though, this could be seen by many as greenwashing or jumping on the sustainability bandwagon. However, there has to be some good coming from this rush to be seen as doing our bit for sustainability. But sustainability is in the DNA of co-ops and mutuals. So it is appropriate that we pool our advocacy to showcase what our sector can do under the ICSE banner, and we give it our full support. The caveat here is that all the world leaders are saying the time for talk is over and the time for action is now. So COP26 in November is such a point in time where talk is replaced by real commitments and actual change. Commitments that make businesses, governments, and the UN accountable to really move from talk to action. And COP26 is as important as COP21 in Paris was. It must succeed unilaterally, and public and private partnerships must start to deliver. I'd just touch a little bit about ICMIF's journey in this crucial sustainability arena. We spoke together with our members at 3 of the key global events in 2015, the Sendai Agreement, the UN General Assembly, where the SDGs were launched, and the Paris Climate Agreement in 2015 at COP21. Since then, we've signed partnership agreements with the UNDP, the UNDRR, the UNEP, and the Accounting for Sustainability, A4S, to help progress the talk to action. And the following 6 initiatives we're all engaged in, and some we're actually leading, but they're all focused on delivering action. And these include, we were a founding member of the Insurance Development Forum, the IDF, in 2016, which had the blessing of the then Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. This is a unique public, private, and mutual partnership, bringing together leaders in insurance, in the UN, in the World Bank, in governments, and in the Financial Stability Board, the regulators, the global regulator. The UNDRR and ICMIF partnership is focused on the move from protection to prevention, to ensure communities are more resilient from disasters and deliver on the Sendai Agreement. We produced a report in April on member case studies outlining the 7 mechanisms for insurers to apply as they move towards prevention to ensure their communities are more resilient. And we're moving this to best practices and to actual delivery of the Sendai Agreement. Number 3, the SDG Calculator, which we are co-creating with Swiss Re, one of the world's biggest reinsurer, and our members, to ensure the whole insurance industry is accountable for their role in delivering the SDGs. This, in my view, will showcase what we do excellently as the mutual and cooperative sector for insurance, and will also highlight anyone who's greenwashing. So I think this is a really great initiative we're really excited about. And it has the UNEP PSI, Principles for Sustainable Insurance, supporting it from the UN. Number 4, the net zero commitments. You may have heard of the GFANs, another acronym to learn. Mark Carney has introduced this as the advisor to the UK government for climate change, and it stands for the Glasgow Finance Accord for Net Zero Alliances. And it's under the UNEP, and our members are leading the action-focused delivery for the commitments to net zero. For instance, the 4,000 plus PRI signatories I mentioned earlier, of those, only 40 have moved to accountability under the Net Zero Asset Owners Alliance, which is a much more stringent criteria, and that is the way forward. At the United Nations General Assembly in 2014, I made a commitment on behalf of all insurers with 2 other global insurance associations to reach 400 billion in responsible investments by 2020. I'm delighted to announce that the ICMIF members alone have reached this milestone, something which we will announce formally on the first day of COP26 on the 1st of November. we know we're there. We're just finishing off the research and the report on this. And this will be then followed by webinar workshops on how to implement the SDG alignment, responsible investments and net zero commitments, prevention, and the TCFD accounting side. At COP21 in Paris, we also launched the 555 microinsurance initiative to bring resilience through insurance to 25 million individuals. Okay, this was a bit of a moonshot, but we have to date delivered on 11 million people. So we're nearly halfway there, and we'll continue to scale up these initiatives as they embed so many of the SDGs and are helping so many in emerging countries. So I hope that gives you a flavor of some of our action-orientated initiatives. And hopefully we can build on these with our new partners under the SSE as we move towards greater acknowledgement of what our particular sector can do collectively. And I think SDG 17 is around about the partnerships, and this is one of those partnerships that really can make a difference. So it gives me great pleasure now to introduce our next speaker, Xavier Minchon. Xavier was appointed as Deputy Executive Secretary of the United Nations Capital Development Fund at UNCDF in late 2014, having spent about 17 years prior to the UN. As part of his duties, he plays a critical role to support Executive Secretary in providing leadership and shaping the strategic vision and direction of the organization. He provides direct oversight to the development of the program of work and plays an active role in the implementation of the UNCDF's capital development mandate and management of the organization. Look forward to what you've got to say, Xavier.
Thank you, Sean, and good morning, everyone, and congratulations for this event and for the constitution of the ICSE. So first of all, can someone give me access to the share screen? And so whomever is the administrator, I have 6 slides on a PowerPoint. It's mostly pictures, drawings. So, okay, very good, thank you. So when I talked with the organizers, we decided I would present something really more practical. As Sean, you talked about action, so maybe I'll give an element of action, and maybe since it's a coalition and I'm forming a coalition, maybe there's certain elements that we can discuss. So let me narrow it down to something specific. It's not the answer, but let me tell you what I intend to share with you today. So when we talk about solidarity economies, I mean, I would like to focus on the social enterprises. And then this is also one of the focus of my organization, but I think our take on this dimension. And we see that basically a couple of things. With COVID, basically, I think there's a shift from this short-term, financially driven, let's say, economy, and I think that's driven also by the clients, to a dimension, that is prioritizing the real economy. We put in the element of impact. We have spoken, for example, a couple of months ago with the CEO of a, very prestigious Wall Street entity, and he was saying, my clients are asking for impact. So whether or not this is my conviction, it's my customer base that is asking for it, and that's a tremendous message that we got. The second point is that, we see a shift in the global economy, and that's nothing new. I mean, in terms of GDP generation, you see the projections in 20, 30 years from now, and you see that the South is taking a space that is let's say, to be considered and to be acknowledged and prioritized. And the second point is, in these global economies, less trade barriers. Technology is playing an amazing role in terms of reducing those barriers also. The trade agreements, et cetera, and the SMEs are taking an important role. And again, let me give you another example. I spoke 2 weeks ago, SME, 3 young people in Mali, and basically all they're doing is basically interacting with the client base via the internet. And they're not even in the capital, they were in a secondary city, and you see how connected they are with the world. And that's something that lets us think. So and that's why we see the SMEs as an element of importance, because what we see today, that capital is focusing mostly on, let's say, on mature entities, on big projects of larger scale, talking about infrastructure and so on. But when you look at the narrative that we're discussing today and the role of the SMEs that do not get that attention, but the potential they have in terms of the role they have in terms of course, on the GDP generation, they represent basically in terms of job creation just in Africa. It's half of the job creation in Africa is coming from those SMEs. But if you look at, for example, a lot of the techs there as the fintechs, the agritechs, it is smaller entities, it is young people, it is those ideas that are groundbreaking that need to be supported. And these are the ones that are coming also with the, let's say, with the different perspective, which is impact driven and these are, let's say, entities that deserve our attention. So what do I want to propose here? We have a problem today, is that basically capital goes to mature projects. It's better to bet on the big brewery, on the big hotel that everybody knows in the capital, in the lighting of the municipality and so on. Less risk, a return that is, let's say, more or less sure than a small startup with two young ideas, two youngs that have an idea and basically something that is also bringing some concepts in terms of social approaches and so on. So we see that that's something that is tangible, that is real, and it needs to be addressed. And the reasons are that today capital isn't, when we talk about developing economies, most of the actors, and I'm even talking, for example, if you talk about a country in East Africa, investors from the neighboring country, they don't have a presence in that country. They don't have contact with intermediaries. And that's something that needs to be addressed. It's not having a Bloomberg terminal, you have all the data, you take your investment decision and you do it electronically. It's a different way. And we know also that basically identifying entrepreneurs to partner with, to invest in, to be commercial partners and so on, it is a labor of love. It takes time. And again, this is something that requires transactions, engagements, knowing each other and so on. So the problem that we're trying to address is how do we reduce that gap? And basically, and how we narrow today a public of entrepreneurs that they don't know, and I heard the expression, they don't know how to dress to the party. I'm saying that basically they don't know how to talk the language of capital. They don't know how to introduce themselves to banks, to investors, to commercial partners, to actually actors from the provider ODA. And there is an element to bring those capacities. And also the investors, they have, many are driven, at least some of them are driven by perceptions. They don't have the presence in those countries. And so that the question was how we start reducing, and this is not the answer that we propose, it's one of the multiple answers, but how do we reduce that gap? And so the idea that came from last year. We did a survey during COVID, and basically we got about almost 2,500 answers. It was something done on the spur of the moment, extremely artisanal, a very short campaign of a couple of weeks. But and we were surprised by the number of answers, and actually they came from all the least developed countries. But one of the let's say the message that we got in addition to the analysis that we did is that whomever the entrepreneur was, basically they saw a virtual space as a space of opportunity and as a must, that it was, no matter who you are, you have to be present on the web and have a way to connect with your clients, from your clients to providers of capitals and so on. So, and that was for us element that opened our eyes, and we thought, let's do something and let's use the virtual space as a space of opportunity. So basically what we're developing, and you will see that there's a coalition behind it. So I'm talking to another coalition. It is a space basically where capital meets entrepreneurship. So someone I'm sure will think, I have seen that already. And actually we have scouted basically and looked around at about, to see what was around. There are commercial expressions, there are a couple of initiatives also. What we're bringing as differentiator, and maybe I'll skip that part because it's more on the technical side. First of all, we're doing that as a global public good, and I think that's an element. So there are no fees involved. Many of those sites are to be paid. Second element is that basically in every country where we operate, and that's a project that we're launching in a couple of months, it's done in conjunction with the national authority that is basically let's say, stimulating and supporting the ecosystem of SMEs in that country. Third point is that basically we leverage technology. And what do I say by that? Is basically we're using algorithms to analyze and basically to score companies. So it's not like in other cases that you have, let's say, an analyst that receives the data, asks the company for an interview, asks for financial statements and so on, and takes some time to crunch the numbers and have a qualified opinion, and that's required. We have said, basically the point was, let's have a way to scale the engagement. Let's leverage technology to have that opinion, even if it's less, let's say, less accurate, but what we want is to scale and give the opportunity to anyone. And let's use basically artificial intelligence. So we're developing actually with Harvard, actually they do in the coding, we developed the concept, a unique methodology that assesses companies. I'm not going to go into detail, and I'm happy to discuss in the second instance, and provide a scoring that actually we have developed with several members of this consortium. Other elements that we think is, SMEs today, they don't know how to generate funding applications. They don't have analytics. They don't have information in terms of, what you see in the business school. It's as simple as that. We're going to put it public. The same thing on the business side and on the investor side. In certain cases, they don't have access to basic information on the market. So, for example, we're talking with Bloomberg about macro information about those markets, sector indicators. We're talking with some universities also to provide data. And what we want is, by sharing knowledge, reducing that gap and allowing basically a space whereby basically investors or entrepreneurs see each other and they want to talk to each other. So it's not a transactionally driven space. Our objective is not to say company A invested in company B. It's basically what we want is that basically there's a community that starts evolving, and we will measure that by the level of participation and the number of participants. So going back to something that you are cherishing and you're doing very well, we are also establishing a consortium so far. Sorry, let me move to the next one. And that's something as a practical concept. I didn't put the logo because it's not official yet. And so I blurred the logos, but we have 17 entities today. Basically, based on the enthusiasm that we all shared, based on the same reading that we had that something had to be done, and there were no, let's say, expressions that, let's say, responded to those needs, decided to join forces. And we have been working the entire summer to develop the modeling, developing the website, and basically we will pilot basically this platform in about 2 months in 6 countries. And then we intend to make it public and then, let's say, launching at scale as of the end of January during the LDC conference in Doha. Knowing that in every country we operate, we need the blessing of the SME, let's say, government authority. And so it's not going to be just put it on the web and things like that. So for me, this is when we talk about social economies, solidarity, and so on, and I'll stop there. I just wanted to give something practical. This is something that we can discuss. You represent an extremely influential and extremely broad alliance, and that's something that in our terms could be something to where we could connect, where we could work. I think we have the same interests. We are like-minded public. We speak the same language. It's very, by the way, I'm very pleased to be with like-minded institutional individuals. And so I'll stop there. So I come here not just to give you an overview about the global economy and principles I think we should do. I wanted to be practical. This is something that we're doing, and that's something that we could do together by joining just basically our sweat, I would say, capital or equity. This is just about putting our forces, networks, thinking, and basically from our side, we're doing all the legwork. And so I'll stay there with the proposal, and happy to connect at the later stage if you wish to do so. Over.
Thank you very much, Xavier and Jean. I think I was very happy to hear your practical and very concrete proposal to the coalition. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all. I hope that everybody hears me. I'm so excited and very happy to be part of this important event to launch the International Coalition of Social Solidarity Economy today on behalf of GSEF. My name is Laurence Kwak, the General Secretary of Global Social Economy Forum. We have been discussing and reflecting with the International Forum of Social Solidarity Economy and ICA since 2018 to make this coalition a reality. And I'm so happy that today AIM and ICMIF have also joined us, and we are launching this coalition with many important guests from various international and UN organizations. Let me first introduce about GSEF that I represent here. GSEF is a global network of local government and network of social solidarity economy organizations aimed at promoting the social and solidarity economy as a strategy for the sustainable local economic development and the achievement of sustainable development goals. Currently, we have 82 members active in 35 countries, and we accompany local government in the collaboration process with social solidarity economy organizations towards the co-creation of public policies and the establishment of sustainable ecosystem conducive to the development of social and solidarity economy. GSEF is the youngest network among those who have joined this international coalition. However, we have played a key role in mobilizing social solidarity economy actors, calling upon local and national government to recognize the vital role played by the social solidarity economy in meeting socio-economic and environmental challenges since its inception in 2013, especially through our biannual Global Forum, which will be celebrated this year from 4th to 8th of October next week. The dramatic global context caused by the COVID-19 has shown how fragile our territories can be, as its consequences have impacted all shapers of our society and economy, more particularly aggravating the situations of people living in vulnerability and inequality. And I think this situation is particularly very critical in the developing countries, as we have more than 50% of our local governments and network of social solidarity economy organizations coming from those developing countries, especially from African countries. So I was very interested what Javier has proposed just before. In this context, I believe that launching of this international coalition of social solidarity economy has an important role to play to consolidate local and global advocacy process of all social solidarity economy stakeholders to work more closely with local and national government to better respond to the urgent need of citizens. We know that growing number of governments understand the strength and the role of social solidarity economy, working in partnership with social solidarity economy organizations, not only to fight COVID-19 pandemic currently, but also to build back better for a more resilient, green, and inclusive society. Therefore, I believe that this coalition is launched in a very critical time for social solidarity economy actors to meet and share their concerns, hopes, successes, and failures, but also to engage in active dialogue with government, UN agencies, and international development organizations on how to institutionalize collaborations to reinforce the capacity of social solidarity economy actors to meet the challenges faced by our territories around the world. We need strong partnership to maximize great impact and opportunities offered by the social solidarity economy to give a political and operational coherence at all levels in order to explore transformative capacities and potential of social solidarity economy to lead a transitional process of our economy to be more sustainable and inclusive. However, we believe that this should be developed with social solidarity economy stakeholders who must be part of these discussions and negotiations at all times. This is a sine qua non. We also need to develop a new alliance with the mass media and communication sector to build a greater recognition and visibility on the role and potential of social solidarity economy in this critical time. Currently, we see that a great deal of discussion within mainstream circles that focus on value and what we value as a global community. Value has been long equated with price, and this is now strongly questioned. As we all know, at the heart of the social solidarity economy are the values it embraces that need no elaboration among social solidarity economy actors. However, we need greater visibility as those in control of economic levers globally now discover that the values of all societies must ensure commitment to equity, dignity, and above all to sustainable livelihood for all. As we know that the current humanitarian crisis can only be met by embracing those values, particularly through values that put in practice, which make up of social solidarity economy principles and activities, the role of this coalition is critical to show why social solidarity economy is important and how we can contribute to build a more resilient, sustainable, and inclusive society. It is a time to act now collectively. Through our coalition of social solidarity economy, let's get to know better, listen to social solidarity economy actors, identifying their capabilities and potential roles to make our society to be more democratic and sustainable. Thank you very much for your attention. I understood that now I have to introduce Daniela Vaz. I think she was just introduced before by Pedro, but I think they are ready. She's working as the director of the Division for Inclusive Social Development at the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs since May 2011. She's also certified and for the major press, radio, and television networks. Ms. Vaz's interest has always been people-centered in the various activities, associations, and professional roles she has held. Her intervention is pre-recorded video. Now I think that we can see her contribution. Sorry, we still don't hear her voice.
International coalition social solidarity economy in a world marred by high inequalities within and between countries, a global health pandemic, the climate emergency. The importance of cooperation and solidarity then cannot be overstated. The COVID-19 pandemic is reversing recent gains in human development, and additional 97 million people have been forced into extreme poverty, and an additional 118 million people have been forced into chronic hunger, and there will be an additional 9.3 million wasted. And what about the 2.6 million stunted children by the year 2022? For many countries, economic activity will only return to the pre-pandemic levels in 2022. This pandemic also exposed the vulnerability of the current economic systems, undermining progress towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. The world was already off track for achieving the key goals of eradicating poverty even prior to the pandemic, and this means economic recovery bringing us back to the pre-pandemic level is wholly insufficient. Our recovery strategy must aim for a better, more inclusive, more resilient, and greener development path. And this requires a renewed multilateralism and global solidarity, a new social contract that is rooted in the principles of equity and cooperation. It requires changes in the patterns of production and consumption to promote behavioral adjustments that conserve natural resources. You see, dear friends, the social and solidarity economy embodies the aspirations of a new social contract where people are empowered to take their destinies in their own hands. And these organizations are designed to benefit people and the planet, as opposed to simply maximizing shareholder value. They share wealth more equitably, and thereby reducing inequalities and addressing social exclusion by reaching out and incorporating marginalized groups in their value and supply chains, and thus a people-centered and planet-sensitive SSE approach would address both the people and the planet dimension of the SDGs. Prominent within the SSE umbrella are cooperatives, who are members and they're member-owned and controlled, and have a double bottom line as profitable business organizations that also care for their communities and member interests. And this is, central to their operations. There are numerous examples of national and international cooperation among the cooperatives during the height of the pandemic last year. And these include the Producer Relief Fund, which was launched by Fair Trade Cooperatives in 2020, which has already provided support for more than 900 producer organizations in 59 countries, covering over something like 540,000 farmers and workers. And then, the collaboration between Coop Italy and the Central Cooperative Union of Bulgaria to protect their members and local communities by providing much needed protective goods, such as disinfectants and also cleaning detergents. So collaboration between the Italian Cooperative Alliance and the Italian Banking Association to provide liquidity for small and medium-sized cooperatives are good examples. Dear colleagues, the important role of SSE enterprises for inclusive development is highlighted in a policy brief published by the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, where there is in the United Nations, the division I have the honor to lead, the Division for Inclusive Social Development. And the title is Accelerate Action to Revamp Production and Consumption Patterns, the Circular Economy, Cooperatives, and the Social and Solidarity Economy. Because promoting the social and solidarity economy will enable the fullest possible participation in the economic and social development of local communities and all people, including women, youth, older persons, persons with disabilities, indigenous peoples, and the family as a whole. This model of enterprises really needs more fully around the world, including in our schools and universities, and I therefore commend this new coalition and pledge the support of the United Nations to your efforts, and really look forward to a world where the social and solidarity economy fulfills its tremendous potential towards realizing inclusive development in order to leave no one behind. Thank you.
Bueno, muchas gracias a todos. Mi nombre es Elisa Torrenegra. Soy la copresidente de Forum Internacional con Alain Coer. Y quiero darle un saludo a todos y muchas gracias a Lorenz por la presentación y el compromiso que reiteró con el GSEF en cuanto a su involucramiento en la coalición internacional. Gracias a todos los que han venido interviniendo en este evento, Alain, Bruno, Paul, Pedro, Sean, Javier, Lorenz, Daniela, apoyando la creación de esta nueva coalición, de esta nuestra coalición, pero también destacando la necesidad de promover y de hacer crecer la economía social y solidaria a nivel internacional como una herramienta para alcanzar la Agenda 2030 y como respuestas a los retos actuales del contexto en el que vivimos. Quiero hacer un poquito de énfasis en que esta coalición se ha concebido como un esfuerzo un apoyo a las iniciativas que ya existen a nivel internacional desde la sociedad civil internacional. Como se ha mencionado varias veces, se trata de una coalición para unir fuerzas, hacer más fuerte e impactante cada una de las acciones de incidencia de las redes de organizaciones de la economía social y solidaria en el mundo, y llevando una misma voz política y económica al nivel internacional. Además, el que podamos actuar en el nivel internacional es una forma de incidir en el día a día en las organizaciones nacionales y locales de la economía social y solidaria, porque creemos que si bien hay una lógica abajo desde arriba, los logros que se alcanzan a nivel internacional van a tener consecuencias a nivel nacional y local. Esto se irradia. Un eje principal del trabajo de acción de la coalición que estamos por terminar es la inclusión de un punto sobre la economía social y solidaria para un futuro trabajo centrado en las personas, en el orden del día de la 110ª Conferencia Internacional del Trabajo en junio 2022. De cara a este momento, un trabajo de sensibilización, incidencia en favor de esta temática, haciendo recomendaciones a las delegaciones nacionales que estarán en Ginebra, es imprescindible en el proceso de reconocimiento internacional de la utilidad y los méritos de la economía social y solidaria que todos lideramos. De hecho, ya hemos comenzado ese trabajo en varios países, incluyendo mi país, Colombia. Como lo han visto, la coalición se compone de miembros como la ACE, el GSEF, SSE Forum International, ICMIF, AIM. Se pueden incorporar otras organizaciones que cumplen con esos criterios, organizaciones basadas en miembros que son parcialmente o totalmente organizaciones de la economía social y solidaria, organizaciones de acción y promoción de la economía social y solidaria, y redes u organizaciones de economía social y solidaria de dimensión internacional e intercontinental. En términos muy concretos, compañeros, esta coalición será autogestionada por los miembros de la coalición sobre la base de una secretaría rotativa acogida por las organizaciones miembros. De las decisiones se toman en forma horizontal entre todos los miembros. Por lo tanto, para cualquier pregunta o solicitud de información, le invitamos a ponerse en contacto con la Secretaría. El correo aparecerá en el chat del evento para que ustedes puedan consultar a él. Con esto, entonces, compañeros de todo el mundo, termina este evento de lanzamiento de esta gran coalición internacional de la economía social y solidaria. Esto marca el inicio de una nueva etapa en lo que es la promoción y el despliegue de la economía social y solidaria a escala internacional, para que todos juntos, las organizaciones internacionales de economía social y solidaria, podamos actuar a mayor nivel y conseguir resultados de una mayor amplitud. Muchas gracias por asistir, muchas gracias por estar, muchas gracias por todo lo que hay que hacer de ahora en adelante, y hasta luego a todos.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice rest of your day. Have a nice evening.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Merci beaucoup. Muchas gracias. Hasta luego. Bye-bye.
See you all soon.
Bye to all. Ciao.